When it comes to using your spiritual gifts, oftentimes we have the preconceived notion that we have these gifts that God gives us. And so now we are supposed to take these gifts and use them inside of church. And that has been my belief for the last 42 years. 42 years. This is me today, 42 years. And it wasn't until I had a recent session with a mentor of mine who is a Christian counselor. I've been with her for years, where she said to me, well, Kenya, does God say that you have to use, because he gave you these gifts, that now you've got to go and use them at church? And she didn't say he didn't say that. She just said, does he? And I was like, I had never had that question. And so today on the You, Me, and Jesus podcast, we're going to talk about it. Welcome back to the You, Me, and Jesus podcast, where we talk about all things you, me, and Jesus. We have this every single Sunday. We're here on the podcast, but we're also on our YouTube channel. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel at You, Me, and Jesus, and then be sure to hit the bell. That way you're notified every single time we have a brand new episode. And so coming in hot with today's episode. This is like fresh off of therapy with my spiritual counselor, and I wanted to have this conversation with you. Now, this is not me having all the answers. This is me provoking you. Okay, I want to provoke you to have a conversation with God, not with your pastor, not with leaders, but with God, because him and I are on this journey right now about understanding this. And so we're talking about, are you supposed to definitely use spiritual gifts God has given you inside of church? Okay. And so because of that, I said, let me go on, try to find in the Bible, where God says this, or if I can find it. And so I was trying to find it, couldn't find anything. So then I went to Google. Let me tell you what Google says. So it says, how are spiritual gifts supposed to be used? And so I did a lot of little searches, and it says every Christian should watch for opportunities to minister, is what people say. Lifeway Church, I think, minister to others, to use their gifts as a blessing and an encouragement to others. Even the newest Christian can serve others. Spiritual gifts are not meant to draw attention to ourselves. God gives them so we can bless and build others up. Okay. And so then we have another question. And this question says, what does the Bible say about using our spiritual gifts? The Lord said, a commandment I give unto thee, that they shall not boast themselves of these things, neither speak them before the world, for these things are given unto you for your profit and for salvation. Okay. So then I was trying to find more. And I just kind of found where it says, if your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance to your faith. It is for serving, then to serve. If it's teaching, then teach. If it's to encourage, then encourage. If it's for giving, then to give. If it's to lead, then do it. If it's to show mercy, do it cheerfully. I kept trying to search on Google for what does the Bible say about our spiritual gifts. And I could not find a verse in the Bible. Now, if you have one, let me know. I would love to know. But I could not find a verse in the Bible that said that because God has given me this particular gift, that I have to go and use it in my local church. And that was, for me, it was eye-opening, when she said that to me. And I'm still on the journey, like I said earlier, because can we just be honest? Let me just be honest. So, I want to read you something, because I want to read you something. Now, normally I'm not this vulnerable online, but I think I was probably hormonal that day. And so I posted something. I just said, well, we're just going to see what I get. Okay. So I posted this on my You, Me, and Jesus page, and then I shared it on my personal page. And I just want to show you, I want to read to you what it was that I said in the post. Okay. So got to scroll down here a little bit before I find it. Okay. Let's see if we can find it. And it basically was just me talking about how I feel about church. Okay. I'm trying to find this. Oh man, it's way down here. Hold on, guys. Let me see. Let's find it. So I searched the page and I cannot find it, but let me just kind of tell you what I was saying. And so I made a post and I just basically was saying that I am finding myself not enjoying church anymore. And I said the reason is because I'm finding that when, like, if you have gone through a journey with God and you have a great close relationship with God and you have, you're coming into your spiritual gifts, you're learning what those things are, that oftentimes what I am experiencing in church, not just the church I currently go to, I experience it there as well, but most churches I've been to is, um, here is the need. All these people are coming and they have this need. And there are the 20% of people that are able to fulfill the need. It's like the 80-20 rule. 80% take and then 20% give, right? And what I have started to feel like is that we forget about the 20 percenters. That the church, the leaders of the church, like they get so used to people that are leading in church or that are leaders. Like here's the pastor and his crew, and then here's people that are on the serving teams or whatever. That oftentimes these people forget about these people because they're like, it's just an expectation that because they signed up for a thing that they're just going to serve, right? But they forget about what our needs are, right? And I had to be extremely vocal about this with the church I was at before this current church that I'm at, because what I felt taken advantage of like all the time. And I was honest with them about it, that I just felt taken advantage of, that like, here is a need that you have at your church, and here is your lack of concern for me. Lack of concern for me, my relationship with Jesus, all these different things, because you have a need. I felt like it was, they were taking advantage of me and other people, that they were it was very selfish, if I could just be honest. I love them as people, but not as the leaders of church, and it was just very selfish, and it wasn't until it got called out that they started to see like, hey, we didn't realize we were doing this. And it's like, it's terrible. But they're not the only ones. The current church that I'm at right now, I feel the exact same thing, that it's like, I don't like, how do I say this? I don't need to be in people's pulpits. I don't need you to see me like, you don't need that, right? But what I do think that it is, we forget the people that have the great relationship with God, that have invested time and energy in their relationship with God. We forget about them because we think that they don't have a need or whatever because they're a leader. But the truth is, we all need help. We all need guidance. We all need mentoring and consideration and all those types of things. So I have found myself kind of in this space where I am just like, okay, God, like, what does this mean? I can utilize my gifts inside of church, but is that what you have said that we are obligated to do? Why do I feel the sense of obligation? Just like, what is that? And so again, this is just an invitation for us all to go on and talk to God about, do I want to serve at church? Yes. Do I want to pray, prophesy, encourage people? Yes. But I am learning that this is a choice that I get to make, and not this thing that I have been doing all my life, which is like feeling obligated because there is a need. Another question that, I wanted to kind of pose today is like, sometimes we'll say to ourselves, I have these spiritual gifts, but there is a need for this in the church. And so sometimes it is whether you're cooking or you're serving back there with the kids or whatever. And we tend to have this question of, there is a need for X, Y, and Z. That is not my primary gifting. Should I operate or serve in that capacity? And I feel like, again, very similar to my first question, is it's a choice. It's a choice that you get to make. For example, at my current church, they were looking for people to serve in the children's ministry. I don't typically enjoy serving in the children's ministry. And so for a whole life, I never volunteered in the children's ministry because I just don't enjoy it. But when my church kept talking about this need that they had, I said, well, I'll sign up and I'll commit to doing it like once a month or whatever. Now, I never got picked up, thank God, to do it. But, I was willing. And so I ask you the question, or we are like, asking God the question, or going on this journey of question asking is it okay to just serve in your area of gifting, or should you serve in areas where there is a need or what have you? I mean, I think that there's room for interpretation. Do I think that it's okay to sometimes serve in areas where it's not my primary gifting? Sure, like why not? But do I have to? No, I don't think so. I don't think you have to do something that you're not naturally gifted to do or spiritually gifted to do by God, or you like schooling and training and all that type of stuff. I don't think you have to do that, but I think it's a question to ask. And then the last question is, how can you utilize your gifts to build people, build the community, and the church? Okay, so if you choose to, remember, we're talking about choice. If you choose to. So one of the ways that I feel like that you can utilize your gifts in church or in the community is like, if that is your main gift and you are really good at it. Like you're really good with the kids. You're really good with hospitality. You're really good with, like, you hear God, you have the gift of prophecy or whatever it is. Like, I feel like that there is this amazing opportunity to be able to go and do that thing there, right? So for example, I know someone here and she has quite the gift for evangelism, and she is always putting on events, and she is inviting her Christian brothers and sisters to come alongside of her and do evangelism. And she does it in the community. She doesn't do it at church. She does it outside of the church, and it brings her so much joy. She brings so many people together, and she's able to lead people to Jesus, which is beautiful. I know someone else who does an amazing job with street ministry as it pertains to healing. And he goes into restaurants, he goes into stores, he goes to like Satanist he just goes to all these different things. And he is just interacting with people and loving on people. And then at some point in time, he has conversations with people. And a lot of these people give their lives to Jesus, but oftentimes he will find somebody in pain. He will find somebody that is limping, or he'll see somebody with a crutch or something, and he will go up to that person and say, hey, I see that you're dealing with X, Y, and Z. Do you mind if I pray for you? And the people are normally like, okay. And oftentimes that person will get healed on the spot. And so instead of him just only having his gifting on the inside of the church, he is actually utilizing that gift outside of the church and bringing hundreds and thousands of people to Jesus in that way. So I think that there is an amazing opportunity to find out who we are, who God says that we are, the gifting and callings on our lives, and then us to take those giftings and minister. Whether you are choosing to minister on the inside of a church's walls or you are ministering outside. I do a lot of ministry at conferences, like business conferences. I do a lot of ministry in my day-to-day, in my business, all the things. And people oftentimes will just be like amazed by me, but not because I'm like all that, but because I'm learning how to utilize my gifting in my everyday life. And not just when I'm on the prayer line at church, not just when I have the microphone at church, but when I am living my everyday life. And I find so much fulfillment at that. It's like a couple of weeks ago, I did a podcast with two women, and we were going to have just like a TikTok conversation because I teach TikTok marketing. And it started to just evolve into me talking about my relationship with God, the Holy Spirit, and all this type of stuff. And as they are listening to me, I could just tell that they're both having this like experience because I'm just sharing my relationship with God with them on that podcast. But it did something to one of them because she was very vocal about it as we were recording. And it was just me sharing my experience, not because I was like preaching, praying, or whatever over her. I was just like, this is what it's been like with me and God. I've been on this journey and I'm trying to figure out this and I'm trying to figure out that. All because I just said yes to that in my personal life. So I just wanted to I record this episode today on YouTube and on the podcast to talk to you about your spiritual gifts. And I really want you to have this conversation with God. I want you to ask him, like, God, how do you see me and my gifts? If you don't know what your spiritual gifts are, we have a quiz, and you'll see it in the show notes where you can like take a spiritual gifts quiz, and it'll help you help unlock you to some of your gifts. But you also can actually go to God and say, God, can you tell me what are my spiritual gifts? What are the gifts that you have on the inside of me that you want to cultivate for me, and as well as to for other believers in whatever capacity that looks like? And spend time with him and unlocking that. It may take a little while for you to hear if you're not used to hearing, but like he's always talking. And so sometimes he's talking to you in ways that you don't know he's talking, but he's always talking. Like he is always talking, right? He's like, right? God's always talking. And so you just got to have your ear to hear and just be aware of like that there are so many different ways God can talk to you. Okay. And so I would love to hear from you. If you have questions about this, be sure to comment here on the YouTube video and you can ask me questions. I'll get a notification. I'll respond back to you. If you are listening on the podcast, come and talk to me on Instagram. I would love to know. But thank you so much for watching and listening.